Hello, this is Sippin' G and TV, where we chat. It's our weekly recap discussion of shows we watch and like Star Trek Discovery. And today we're going to be chatting Season 3, Episode 5, Died Trying. And yeah, if you want to follow along, well, if you haven't seen the other episodes and you wanted to check it out, make sure you check them out right there. There's a playlist, and hit subscribe so you get the future ones. And yeah, let's dive into what happened this episode.
So this episode, we've finally been reunited with the Federation, and Discovery is quickly learning that maybe they're not just going to slot in kind of probably what they unrealistically probably fantasize in the back of their heads. So they're discovering they're going to have to build up a little bit of loyalty, maybe get a few of like the Admiral on their side. So quickly they offer to go on a mission because there is an illness for some of the species on board. At the Federation. Could it be considered on board?
Yeah, they were on a
space station. So yeah, because of their spore drive, they have more access to the universe than the rest of the Federation ships. So they volunteered to go get some seeds that can help create a cure for this illness. And while they're there, they manage to 1, successfully complete the mission, 2, gain the trust of the Star Trek fleet. Star Trek fleet? No. Federation fleet.
Yeah.
And earn their trust. And then in the process, they actually leave Nan behind. And she decides to remain on the Seed ship, where she can be with another of her kind and eventually return to her home planet. And where we leave off is basically Saru reminding Michael that he's the captain, she's number 1, and let's not, peeve anyone off too much. So that is the basic synopsis. By the end of the episode, they've kind of gained the trust of the Federation, and they can remain together as a crew.
Yeah, showing their effectiveness.
Yeah. So I suppose the first thing to touch on is what the Federation is currently like.
Oh yeah, they didn't dilly-dally. We were wondering last week, now that they know where the Federation is, are they going to sort of have adventures along the way until they actually come across the Federation? Is there going to be a snag where, but no. Immediately they find the Federation, and the state of it is not what I expected. Because with the burn and everything happening in the first few episodes, I thought the universe was in complete disarray. But when we see the Federation, they still got pretty high tech, seems pretty in their own bubble, pretty cohesive. The chain of command seems really firmly established, organized. It's just that they're basically confined to their system.
Yeah, right? They explain that the Federation had a high of 350 planets, but they only have a small amount of those planets accessible to them. So I guess even for the Federation, they can't be sure anymore how many planets are actually loyal and still part of the Federation. So
because even with Earth, we found out that for last week that they're not part of the Federation anymore. That
is true. So when Saru and Michael arrive on board the main Federation space station, I suppose, Michael is eager for answers. She wants to know where her mother is. She wants to know what happened at the burn. She wants all the answers to all these questions because she's had a year to kind of ponder these things and try to figure out what happened. So as we know, Michael's changed a little bit in the last year. She's less she still follows, respects the chain of command. She's quicker to kind of butt in and kind of, be a little bit antagonistic.
Well, devise plans that, sort of go around rules. She was like, we gotta get our hands onto the manifest or something, right? Yeah. And Sarah's like, wait, we can actually just ask them.
I mean, she's always had that, obviously all of Michael Burnham's problems started off with her taking a decision on her hands and not following the chain of command. So that's always been something innate to her. But I think at this point, it's just something that's really come to the front by not having like a structured crew around her for a year. But
Saru is very good at communicating too. Like, he almost seems like her conscience. And the biggest thing is she trusts him. Like, in another situation where she doesn't trust the captain, then this could be a recipe for destruction. But so far, like, every time she doesn't get reprimanded, but like Saru sort of mentions something.
Saru is like, oh.
But she takes it on board. Like, she's like, oh yeah, you're not. He's right, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It shows the healthy communication there.
So yeah, initially the Federation is a little bit suspicious. They interrogate everyone. They plan to refit the ship and split the crew up.
The scenes are really funny though. Those are some of the like most lighthearted parts of the episode.
Yeah, I mean the crew's is very resistant to that, so they're not the most compliant with the AIs. Yeah. But yeah, so basically, in order to prove that this crew should stay together and to kind of fast track the trust between Discovery and the Federation, Michael is eager to get on board and do a mission, and they have the perfect opportunity because there's a species on board the space station who is suffering from some mystery illness. But the only cure is possibly the seeds. They're in seed bank, which are 5 months flight. So obviously Discovery can get there very quickly and back. So yeah, they decide, okay, let's go do this. So it's I guess it has two benefits. One, they'll be able to save the people who are sick on board. Yeah. But number two, they'll be able to earn the trust of the Federation and show their like cohesiveness as a team and why they shouldn't be split. Yeah. So yeah, the seed ship was interesting. I mean,
it was, yeah.
I think this mission, like, whilst it had value, it also was just really there just to facilitate the quickness of the Federation taking them back into the fold.
Building trust, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, the seed ship was really interesting. It's from the 23rd century, I think, or 25th, they mentioned.
Well, I'm sure they upgraded it. I think the concept was around then.
Yeah, but like, I like the idea that the universe has come together to preserve seeds, and it's just a sign of like the Federation as the iteration we see now still has a lot of the same values. So because at a certain point in the episode, because they sort of feel like the Federation seem like antagonists in this episode to Discovery, or they're positioned in that way. We're almost suspicious of, is this Federation like, you know, is there some kind of dirt behind the scenes? But we soon realize that, oh no, like this is the same Federation. It's just they're really stressed out because they've been trying to survive for so long. So I thought the
burn has not been kind.
So the seed ship I felt was very like representative of that, and that was cool.
Yeah, and then obviously the seed ship is also where we say goodbye to Nan. Maybe permanently, maybe just for the time being. She decides that she'd like to remain on board the seed ship, finish that mission, and then travel to her home planet. But on the the seed ship, they hear a lullaby that Michael remembers Adira playing the previous episode. And then she also hears it at the Federation as well when she asks them about it. So now Michael's really focused on what's with this lullaby. Why do different places that in theory don't have much contact with each other, why are they all singing or humming a version of this lullaby? Yeah. Now this could be nothing, except for Michael being extra paranoid because she's trying to figure out what's going on in general. Or it could be a clue for the future, right? Yeah,
it's true though, because like the universe isn't as connected anymore. So it really is suspicious when the wider universe is tapping into the same thing. It's like, what is going behind the scenes? And then like, because there's that mystery, and the other big mystery is like the burn, so it's like easy to just for us to connect it to like, the writers must be laying these down to like tease this for us. It's interesting.
But by the end of the episode, obviously Discovery has earned, if not all the trust, enough trust that they'll be part of the fold. They'll be trusted to go on missions, but they're also now trusted with some more classified information. So from what we can tell, the Federation doesn't have a conclusive answer as to A, what the burn is, and B, how it happened. And Michael has decided that she's going to take up that mantle. The Federation doesn't have the time to put into that really at the moment. They're too busy trying to just kind of stop the hemorrhaging left, right, center. But Michael, I think, is going to... I feel like that's just going to be what her focus is. Even if she's doing other stuff, I think ultimately her story arc is figuring out what the burn is and if anything can be done about it, right?
Yeah. She's very much, like, as the sort of protagonist of the show, the big picture stuff, like, you can expect she's going to be, like, tackling those, right? Like the save the day type situations.
Yeah, I think she's going to be, like, the Sherlock of the season, right?
But it's just funny, though. She's, like, just so enthusiastic about it. Like, even just in front of the commander-in-chief, she's, like...
The Admiral?
The Federation. She was like, challenge accepted, or something like that.
He's like, I didn't issue a challenge, but okay. I think it's going to be like, you know, no one's going to formally offer her that or kind of really facilitate it, but if she's really going to work on it in her own time, whatever. So yeah, I mean, that was basically the episode. The other notable point of the episode was during the interrogations of the crew, Georgiou was also included in that because she's on the ship. And yes, whilst everyone else was interrogated by AIs, Georgiou actually had an organic, well, I would say human, but you can never be sure of people's actual identity. So she had an organic person with her. And Georgiou showed that she's even though the AIs are technically more advanced than her time, she's able to quickly get rid of them. She like, you know, got their weak spot, exploited it. She's quick. And then the person who's in the room with her is fascinated by Terran culture and her motivations. So he seems to know a lot about Terrans, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with her, why is she there, and based on what he knows about Terrans, he is putting things together. But there's 2 points that are kind of interesting, because obviously Georgiou in general is just a very unfazed person. Like, she's just does what she wants and she doesn't really care what anyone else thinks. Like, it's very much like the Georgiou show when she's there. But there's 2 things that seem to bother her. The first being that the Terran, the alternate universes and stuff seems to be common knowledge within the current Federation, but that Terran Empire has either fallen completely or there's no contact between the 2 universes
for
anymore.
500 years.
And then the second thing is that he touches on her motivations for being in the current universe and current timeline, and concludes that possibly there must be someone on board the ship that she cares about. And that's usually the motivation of most people when they do the things they do. And this kind of throws Georgiou for a spin. So we're not sure afterwards what exactly it is that's bothering her. Is it the information she received about the Terran Empire? Is it the fact that he was able to kind of best her and figure out more or less why she is there? Or is it the fact that she didn't really realize it herself, but now that it's been spoken aloud, it makes her question, like, have to confront her own feelings about stuff that she probably didn't even really think she had the capacity to feel, if that makes sense.
Or it could be something that we didn't even see on screen.
Maybe.
Because we don't see the end of that interrogation.
No, but she does seem a bit taken aback when he kind of touches on Michael, even though he doesn't know who he's talking about.
She definitely clenched her jaw there.
There was like a tick in her eyebrow. So is it that she's like, oh dang, I actually do care for Michael? Or is it like, oh dang, he knows my motivation? Or is it kind of a bit of both? I'm sure it's kind of probably a combination of all those things, but she seemed kind of a bit like concerned.
Well, she was just like spaced out, which we haven't seen. No. Because she's always on the ball. And
she's also quick with it.
So for her to be spaced out is interesting. I don't even know, like, because it's pretty much established, at least for the viewers, that she cares about Michael Burnham, and I feel like Michael Burnham, it's implied that she knows too. So I don't think it is a surprise for Georgiou that, you know, they have this connection.
But maybe it's a surprise to her for other people to.
Like it's a weakness for her for her enemies to exploit. So that's
Georgiou probably does not do well with with weaknesses. So that's the question. One of the questions as we finish up this episode is what exactly has shaken her, and what will that result in? Also, I'm kind of curious how she's going to fit into this team. It seems like for now she's going to be part of the Discovery. I don't want to say crew because I'm not really sure she contributes anything to the crew, but she's hanging around. Also, I'm wondering, will Detmer be okay? She continues to show some PTSD or malfunctioning of her tech, or something is going on. Obviously,
and the Federation has noticed.
Yeah.
Like in their analysis and.
Obviously last week she also admitted to not feeling great, but it rears its head in pivotal moments. So far she's been able to, with the aid of one of the other crew members, kind of get through it. That's
her partner though, right?
Is it her partner?
I think they're always like hugging or like walking, like I don't know, maybe.
I'm not sure.
I like their relationship though. It's very like, supportive of each other. And,
but it's concerning because it's building up, I think, to a point where Detmer will be, again, as the pilot, in a high crisis situation, and perhaps there will be one point where she will not be able to fulfill her role. So what will that be like? The next question is, now that Discovery is kind of being brought into the fold of the Federation, what will their role be, and what will their first mission be? So far the episodes have been very, obviously we've been kind of looking for the Federation, but it's been very episodic. So will we start moving into more serialized, longer term kind of thing, or are we going to continue with these kind of episodic episodes?
I think with Discovery, it seems like with this season they're really leaning on the whole science aspect of it, as in Discovery is a science vessel, and at certain parts in the first two seasons they aren't doing much science. It's a lot of reacting to crises or being in war. So I feel like this season, so far they've been able to use their science and stuff with this episode. So I think they're
also 1,000 years behind in terms of scientific knowledge. So as a science vessel, whilst they do have knowledge from the past, they have a lot of blanks in terms of how the current times.
They still impress though. In the science room, all the scientists impressed the commander on deck, right? Not on deck.
In the room.
With them.
So so the other question on our minds is, will Book return to this season? And if he does, in what capacity would he return? And because as it stands, it seems like Discovery is just going to be part of the Federation and doing missions. And if Book is to return, how exactly would that work? So we haven't seen him for 2 episodes now, so what's he up to?
I feel like he definitely has to come back, because the first 2 episodes really just showed how deep, well, not the first 2, but the first and third episode really showed how deep Michael's and his relationship has become in that year. So I don't it wouldn't make sense to have that development and then just toss it out the window, So I think he'll be back for sure.
Maybe. I mean, but at the same time, she did spend a year with him regardless. So his role in that year would require her to have built some intimacy with him. So regardless, he was always going to have a close confidant.
Confidement. They confide in each other.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm not sure how he'll come back into the fold, or if he will, but it'll be interesting to see how they manage that if they do write him back into the season.
So that's the episode. I feel like, in my opinion, I really like how this episode's going, season's going so far. For me, it feels very Star Trek-y to me. In our cultural consciousness, Star Trek is known to be about human progress and diplomacy and that communication, that kind of thing. And in this episode and a lot of the episodes we've seen so far, a lot of the problem solving is about reaching out and connecting with people, like with on the seed ship, right? Like it's about like healing and connecting and trying to like deal with people's trauma, and like the same with I think the biggest sort of like dilemma of this episode is the breakup of the crew. Like the breakup of the crew was the biggest stake, right? Presented to us. And for the crew, they need each other because like they got taken away from everything they knew in their own universe and put into this one. So for them to be able to be together, work together, and go through that together, I think is really
I mean,
important.
at the same time, though, it didn't feel like a real threat.
No.
It was like, that would require them replacing the entire cast of parts.
Exactly.
So I was like, I mean, even though it was threatened, it never felt like something that would actually come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, some shows, sometimes, like when they split characters up, like the show will spend time with the character here and there. And it has happened in Discovery where like crew is split up. So like I could have seen like, a situation where maybe for a couple of episodes they get split up. Like the crew, and then eventually coming back together, but like I'm glad they didn't do that, because like that's been done before, so there's new territory to traverse here. So I'm excited for the rest of this season.
I'm excited now that they're back in the Federation. I feel like that's the first part, the first story arc, so now we can move into the kind of the juicy parts of the season. Yeah,
exactly. Like it's I feel like so much is still shrouded in mystery, so we'll find out episode by episode.
So we'll be back next Sunday with our next installment of the Sippin' G&TV. If you want to join along in our Star Trek Discovery after show journey, then be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you haven't checked out our last ones and you're still somewhat interested, we'll pop it up here somewhere. But if you made it to this point in the video, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.